4:30. 2026. Currently Thursday, I believe. Um, I don't know. I did some back testing earlier and it went pretty well. And then I took a trade right now and it kind of went in my face. But it was kind of like I don't mind type of way. You know what I mean? Like price action was going down, and then I thought it was gonna go into a fair value gap, and then it broke through. So it's reversing now, so that's fine. But oh well. But yeah, no, I think having an hourly and a 4 hourly downtrend or uptrend, having them both kind of confirmed. Like today, for example, it was on a downtrend on the hourly, but on the 4 hour it was uptrend. So it kind of was not matching correctly. So I think that might be why price kind of reversed so quickly. But yeah, I don't know. Yep. I don't know. I feel like I always have a lot to say during the day, and then when it comes to like me actually being able to finally talk, I don't really have much. I mean, one thing I was kind of thinking about is just like, I guess life itself is very hard and very cruel and not very forgiving. Because I think, and this isn't really meant to be like, yeah, I'm giving up type of thing, but just kind of like, I think life is very difficult in so many aspects, and I just feel like, I don't know. I kind of get why people are using like drugs and shit like that to gonna get through the day and shit like that. Because earlier today, me and my coworkers, I usually don't really say much, but today we were all kind of chilling and we were just making a lot of jokes and shit, and it was cool. And I had this thought in the back of my head, kind of like during the whole time, that was like, because a lot of it was just very silly and very dumb jokes, and typically it would just be like, oh, okay, like kind of whatever type of thing. But like today, for example, I kind of just let myself go a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I guess I'll have a little bit of fun. And I noticed that, for the moment, you're distracted. It feels nice because you're not thinking as much. And when you start thinking again, it's kind of like all the problems come back again. And I'm feeling so nervous and just having this pit in my stomach, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just really fucked me up, and it's been affecting me for like the past week or two. But I noticed that, during that time, it was kind of like a little escape, and I was like, I don't really want this to go, because I didn't really want to be thinking anymore. And today I haven't really thought of much, but I don't know, I still do think. Um, but yeah, and I just feel like if I had a vice, like I used to smoke, I used to drink, not really heavy, like it was very light, like maybe once a month or whatever. Uh, I drank a lot more when I was with my ex, and then I smoked a lot more during the summer, but it was very temporary. And then when I was like dropping all that stuff, it was very easy for me because I never really got addicted to it. But I will say that, like, for example, when I was drunk, it was very nice because I just didn't like. It was more of like I was able to just feel, and I wasn't really thinking. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like I would just do stuff. I didn't have to think about it, type of thing. And I mean, there's a guy who keeps popping up on my YouTube feed, and his whole thing is like, you gotta start retard maxing. You gotta start being a retard. Um, a lot of his videos are just kind of like how being retarded saved my life or some shit like that. But I'm starting to low key see what he means, because I think when you have so much knowledge, and when you think so much, you kind of just, I don't know, you just lose, like, you lose a part that would have been more enjoyable or would have had more joy in life. And I feel like when you know so much, you kind of lose that. And I don't know, I just think, I think, I mean, like, on one part, what can you do? But on the other part, it's like, what could I have done differently? Because I don't think it's a bad thing to know things. I don't think it's a bad thing to get knowledge. But at the same time, I think I've learned so much that I feel like it's kind of fucking with me now. Because, like, for example, I kind of understand how, I guess, some people truly are, and how, I guess, dark their nature really is. And when you're able to see that, I feel like it's just like you can't go back. You can't be innocent. You can't be naive no more. You see things for what they are. And I feel like I see a lot of the time very, like, I don't know, you just see what people really want. And I feel like most people nowadays, they don't genuinely want connection. And this is just for, like, my in-person life so far. I mean, I know online is probably a lot different, but I haven't really been socializing with people online for a long time. So I think it's been like 4 or 5 months. Yeah, 5 months since I've last kind of talked to someone online. Um, which is almost half a year, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know. I don't know. I just think, I think a lot of the time you kind of discover yourself when you're isolated and you're alone. And I think I'm definitely discovering some things about myself, but I don't think it's in a good way. I think it's in a very darkish kind of way. And it's not really to say that it's over. Like, I don't think it's over till you're dead, but it just, things are just hard, I feel like, right now. And if it was someone else who, like, looking in the inside out, um, or the outside in, I feel like they would see nothing at all. Like, I think they would just think, "Oh, what are you talking about, dude? Like, seems like you're doing fine." And it's like, it's just so easy to convince people, like, how, like, non-problematic your life is, for example. And I just think it's so, like, for me, it's so easy to see if someone is truly going through something. But this is kind of where compassion goes into play, because you don't really get that insight unless you've already experienced something similar. You know what I mean? Kind of like the same way, like, for example, if someone is being abused, you already know what it's like to be abused, so you don't want someone else to go through that. So if you kind of notice or pick up signs of a situation that might, occur in that result, you're obviously going to take steps to direct that to something else or completely avoid that possibility. And I think that's, compassion. And I think the only way that you would be able to kind of notice these things and notice if someone is truly going through something is if you've been through a lot yourself. And so for me, it's very easy to see these things and to see if, like, someone is suffering or if someone is, not having a very good day or whatever. Like, it's like common knowledge for me. And it's kind of a curse because I feel like a lot of the time I expect that as a return. And I obviously know, and now I'm aware of that. But back then I was not aware of that at all. But now I'm aware that, you can't assume that others think the same way that you do. Which, yeah, I mean, like I said, it used to be a big problem for me because back then I just kind of, it would always frustrate me because I'd always be like, why don't people understand? Why don't people get it? and it's because they haven't really gone through a good amount of suffering, or suffering in that aspect. You know what I mean? Because when I think about physical suffering, or maybe spiritual or whatever, I feel like there's so many different types, and I can't really say much for physical. I feel like mine is more so mental and emotional, mostly mental, I think. And as a result, I feel like it makes me better people because I understand how I am so well, and how I'm able to see these things, and how I was also kind of like affected by others during these times. And so I feel like because of that, I'm able to have high insights in others. But for example, I can't really say much on, for example, maybe physical, or like speak much on spiritual or stuff like that, because I don't have much experience. Like I might have some, yeah, sure, but when it comes to like the amount of knowledge and the extent of how far that goes, I feel like when it comes to emotional, it's just a lot more. And I don't know. I feel like finding someone else like that is very, I wouldn't say difficult, but like I have yet to meet someone who kind of who and this is the thing too, because it's also like there's a lot of people who suffer and they are not sane at all. And I know I'm not the most sane person ever, but I know I can present myself proper, if that makes sense. And so it's also kind of finding somebody that doesn't want to be like this. They don't want to be just absolutely gone. Uh, but they get it at the same time, and it's kind of hard because it's kind of asking for someone who dresses well, or alternatively to not have mental issues. And it's like, okay, well, I don't think you create great things without a certain amount of mental illness or issues present in your life. For example, like um if you look at Mr. Beast, he started off very determined and very consistent, and he was just completely driven to only do YouTube. That was the only thing he focused on. And there's an interview with him where he talks a lot about it, but in the video he kind of says like, I don't think most people want to be like me. Like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly the details, but I just know that he had a certain, like, I guess, type of mental diagnosis, and that was kind of what fueled him. And that's exactly why he's able to have uh all the luxuries and stuff like that. Whereas, if you have a normal person, they're just not gonna get to that point. They're like, what incentive would they have? You know what I mean? Like, it's not great enough. And I think if you want to build something, you either have to take very long time for it, or you have to have that just mental illness or mental issues. And I don't know. I just think finding someone like that is very difficult, and then having the ability to also kind of maintain yourself as proper, or at least just showcase it off as proper. I don't know. My scalp is like so oily. That's kind of why I'm itching it. But yeah, I don't know. Today's been chill. Um, I don't know. I just don't like this stage at all. I don't even know what you would call this stage in life. Just hell. But I don't like it. I will say that. And I think it might be in part of the isolation. I don't talk to anybody. I don't have any meaningful conversations. And I might have completely just um contained my own self in this own suffering, in this own prison, unintentionally, but still intentional. You know what I mean? Because I kind of have the belief that, oh, I can't interact with others, and it limits me, and then I become shut off and I don't talk to others. When in reality, I'm sure if I were more social, if I were more outgoing, if I were not as closed off, I most certainly could get connections and be more social and just have friends and stuff like that. And I think it always will come down to it is my fault ultimately. I have no one to blame but myself. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't, I just don't know the exact details of what happened to this to lead to this point. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's all I got for right now. So I'll see you guys later.